This video is on the story To Build a Fire. I have already discussed more than 100 multiple choice questions on To Build a Fire by Jack London. In this video, however, I am going to do something else. This is in accordance with the specimen paper provided by the council. Now check the specimen paper, and in section B, you will find question 5. Fill in the missing information from the story of an hour. So, I have followed that pattern in order to revise To Build a Fire. And in the next video, we are going to do the story of an hour. Let's begin. Fill in the blanks based on your understanding and your knowledge, how much you have read the text. Number 1. The one thing that relieved the whiteness was a dash. Old camp on Henderson Creek, thin dark line that curved from the pine-covered island to the south, a skin of ice or fire. Now, what do you think is the right answer? Take your time and think. Read the text thoroughly. There is no other strategy. Nothing is going to work. You will have to read the text thoroughly and you will have to understand the text and practice as much as possible. Yes, I gave you time to think. I hope you have picked out the right answer. The right answer is, let me tell you, the second option, thin dark line that curved from the pine-covered island to the south. I will read the line from the text. The one thing that relieved the whiteness was a thin dark line that curved from the pine-covered island to the south. It's on page number 65. On top of this ice were as many feet of snow. It was all pure white. North and south, as far as his eye could see, it was unbroken white. And the one thing that relieved this whiteness was a thin dark line that curved from the pine-covered island to the south. You're going to solve these questions like this. Now, the next one, very quickly. This man smiled contentedly to himself as he thought of. Now, contentedly with satisfaction, in a satisfied manner. When did he think and of what? His traveling companions, the warm greeting of the boys, his lunch which consisted of pieces of bread, each of which enclosed a generous portion of cooked meat, or the fire promising life with every dancing flame. The right answer is, the man smiled contentedly to himself as he thought of his lunch, which consisted of pieces of bread, each of which enclosed a generous portion of cooked meat. Now, take out your text and try to find out the page number. The next one. My page number is going to be different. Take your textbook and find out the page number. The next one. The animal was worried by the great cold, and he knew that it was the most appropriate time for traveling. It would die. The man would meet a tragic end, that it was no time for traveling. The right answer is the fourth option. The animal was worried by the great cold, and he knew that it was no time for traveling. But the man did not realize his mistakes, and this proved to be fatal. There was nobody to talk to, and had there been, speech would not have been possible because of language barrier, great distance separating everyone, the frozen tobacco juice in his mouth, or the ice around his mouth. First, let me quote from the text. There was nobody to talk to, and had there been, speech would not have been possible because of the ice around his mouth, clearly mentioned in the story. Fourth option is the right answer. Now the next one. The man knew that, and he was sorry that he had not worn the sort of nose guard Bud wore when it was cold. He himself had back in the United States, used by the boys at the camp, the old man on Sulphur Creek had worn. Now, what is the right answer? This is tricky. If you have not read the text thoroughly, you will not be able to answer this. I will read the quoted line from the text now. He knew that, and he was sorry that he had not worn the sort of nose guard Bud wore when it was cold. Such a guard passed across the nose and covered the entire face. So it's the first option. The man knew that, and he was sorry that he had not worn the sort of nose guard Bud wore when it was cold. The next one. The man pulled his hands apart and the flaming matches fell into the snow because. Why did he do so? Let's see. His fingers were numb. His mittens caught fire. His own hands were burning and taking most of the flame, and he could no longer endure it. He fell into a shallow pool of water. The right answer is the third option. Finally, he could endure no more. His own burning hands were taking most of the flame. So it's the third option. The next one. There was an anxious look in the eyes of the dog because the fire had been extinguished by the man. The fire was slow in coming. The man was his fire provider, and it depended on him, both second and third options. Here the right answer is the fourth option. The fire was slow in coming, and the man was his fire provider, and it depended on him, both second and third options. The next one. The man would kill the dog to stop it from barking, to save himself from danger, to bury his hands in the warm body of the animal until feeling returned to it, to get rid of it. What is the right answer? He remembered a story. He was so desperate now that he remembered a story, and he wanted to kill the dog to bury his hands in the warm body of the animal until feeling returned to it. The man was certain to freeze in his present circumstances, and he should accept it with calmness of mind, pessimism, perseverance, or determination. Let's just read from the text first. When he had recovered his breath and his control, he sat and thought about meeting death with dignity. However, the idea did not come to him in exactly this manner. His idea was that he had been acting like a fool. He had been running around like a chicken with its head cut off. He was certain to freeze in his present circumstances, and he should accept it calmly. With this newfound peace of mind came the first sleepiness. So, it's pretty obvious that the first option with calmness of mind is the right answer. The last one now. At the end of the story, the dog lamented the death of his master, ran along the trail toward the camp it knew, died, met another fire provider. The right answer is the second option. Read carefully. The dog ran along the trail toward the camp it knew. The last two lines, in fact the last line. Then it turned and ran along the trail toward the camp it knew, where there were the other fire providers and food providers. Now the last option is not correct because he did not meet another fire provider. He would run towards the camp it knew, hoping to meet the other fire providers and food providers. Now, my dear boys and girls, you are going to read the text in order to answer these types of questions. Well, we come to the end of this last minute revision practice session. I hope this was helpful to you. Please wait for more of such videos and stay connected. Bye.